Welcome to Law Days and Lattes, the podcast where we blend the world of law and business with a warm cup of information and common sense. I'm your host, Sidney, attorney, real estate investor, and business owner. Each week, we'll be your go-to source for legal insights, business advice, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned professional, an ambitious entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking guidance, we'll have you covered. From navigating the legal landscape to empowering you with valuable business strategies, we'll explore the legal side of life and enjoy a virtual latte along the way. So, grab your favorite latte, get comfortable, and let's dive in to Law Days and Lattes. Welcome back to Law Days and Lattes, where we talk about building wealth, protecting what matters, and passing it on with intention. I'm your host, Sidney Whelan, founder of the Whelan Law Firm, now serving North Central Missouri businesses and families in 3 convenient locations, Moberly, Carrollton, and now in Paris. Today's episode is about momentum. It's about boldness. It's about a season of life when you feel called to move forward with strength and clarity. Today, I want to have a little fun and talk about the idea of the Firehorse. Now, normally, I don't delve into mythology or ancient Chinese zodiac signs, but this week officially begins the Chinese New Year, or the Year of the Firehorse. I wanted to know, where does it come from? And what does it represent? And what I discovered was how beautifully it mirrors our theme of build it, protect it, and pass it on. So, where did the idea of Firehorse come from? The Firehorse comes from the ancient Chinese zodiac system, which dates back more than 2,000 years and is rooted in traditional Chinese cosmic theory. The system combines 2 frameworks. 1, the 12 zodiac animals, and 2, the 5 elements theory. Together, they create a 60-year rotating cycle. Each year is not just represented by an animal. It's an animal infused with an element. This year, it's the horse. In the zodiac, the horse symbolizes freedom, movement, endurance, independence, charisma, passion, and drive. Horses thrive in momentum. They resist confinement. They are social, capable, and forward-moving. It's an energy of expansion. In traditional Chinese philosophy, the 5 elements are wood, representing growth, fire, representing intensity and visibility, earth is stability, metal, structure, and water represents wisdom and adaptability. Fire amplifies. It brings boldness, courage, leadership, and illumination. So when the horse aligns with fire, which happens only once every 60 years, you get the most intense, independent, visible expression of that energy. You get the Firehorse. The Firehorse has historically symbolized fearlessness, strong independence, charisma and leadership, entrepreneurial drive, passionate intensity, and decisive forward movement. It's powerful energy, not passive, not subtle, and not waiting for permission. In fact, historically, the Firehorse year, most recently it was 1966, carried strong superstition in parts of East Asia. It was believed that those born in that year, particularly women, would be too strong, too independent, and too intense for traditional roles. Birth rates dropped in Japan in 1966 because of that belief. Isn't that fascinating? For centuries, the Firehorse has symbolized strength in women that made society uncomfortable. Today, that same energy looks like women building businesses, buying land, structuring LLCs, creating generational plans, planning adventures, and refusing to shrink in midlife. That is Firehorse energy, matured and directed. But, and this is a big but, fire needs structure. And here's where this connects to what we talk about every week on this podcast. Fire builds warmth and clears land for growth, but unmanaged fire destroys. That same boldness that builds can create exposure if it's not structured properly, which brings us to build it, protect it, and pass it on. Part 1, the building. Just like Firehorse Energy builds boldly, it says, start the business, expand the practice, launch the podcast, buy the property, invest the land, and create something that didn't exist before. Building is not just financial. You're building skills and reputation, confidence, infrastructure, influence, systems, and a life. Building creates options, and options create freedom. So part 2, protect it. I've said it before. Protection is not about fear. It's stewardship and it's leadership. When you build with Firehorse Energy, you must protect with stability and structure. So, what does that protection look like? It looks like proper insurance coverage, well-drafted LLCs, and operating agreements, clear contracts, asset protection planning, estate planning, succession strategies, buy-sell agreements, and thoughtful beneficiary designations. You can build aggressively, but you must protect strategically. Otherwise, intensity becomes vulnerability. And as an attorney, I see this every week in my practice. People don't lose wealth because they failed to build. They lose it because they fail to protect. And of course, part 3 is how we pass it on. Remember, maturity transforms ambition into legacy. At some point, building for yourself becomes building for something even bigger. Passing it on is not just about death. It's about mentoring and preparing your successors, teaching our daughters and our sons to be financially fearless, structuring business transitions, preserving the land, and creating a charitable impact, and documenting your values. Remember, we don't just pass on assets. We pass on courage and work ethic, standards, and stories. If you don't intentionally pass it on, remember the state will do it for you. If you don't make a plan, your plan will be determined for you by default statutes that determine how and to whom your assets pass. But the state doesn't know your vision. You must be proactive. Let's talk about the firehorse in midlife. There is something powerful about entering a season of life where you are no longer trying to prove yourself. You're building from clarity. You're protecting from wisdom. And you're passing it on from intention. That is firehorse maturity. Not wildfire, but controlled strength, directed power, sustainable momentum. So here's your exercise for this season. Number 1, what are you building right now? 2, where is it exposed? 3, if something happened to you tomorrow, how would it transfer? If you can't answer that third question, your work is not finished. So in closing, the firehorse reminds us that boldness is a gift, independence is strength, momentum is powerful, but legacy, it requires structure. So build boldly, protect wisely, and pass it on intentionally. That is how you turn intensity into impact. And that is how you create generational strength. And that's how you ride forward, not recklessly, but purposefully. Until next time, I'm Sidney Whelan, and this is Law Days and Lattes, where we talk about building with intention, protecting what matters most, and passing on a legacy worth keeping. If this message resonated with you, tune in with me each week, subscribe, share, and start thinking differently about what protection means to you. Have a great week, my friends.
This podcast episode contains general information for discussion purposes only. Each case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Missouri rules generally prohibit lawyers from advertising that they specialize in particular areas of the law. This show should not be construed to suggest such specialization. Nothing on this show should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship, and the listening or viewing of this podcast does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.